Thank you for joining us for this episode of Parker Perspectives Off the Page, where you'll hear from outstanding alumni awardee, U.S. Navy Captain Leonardo Giovannelli, class of 1996. Captain Leonardo Giovannelli is currently the commanding officer of Surface Combat Systems Training Command, San Diego, having previously held a senior rank officer position as commanding officer at the Mariner Skills Training Center Pacific. Ashore, he served the Special Mission and Naval Fleet Auxiliary Ship Scheduler for Sealift Logistics Command Europe, as Director Fellow and the Chief of Naval Operations Strategic Studies Group, and as the Air and Missile Defense Lead at Surface Warfare Officers School Command. At Parker, he was actively involved in several activities and appreciated the influence of his teachers in preparing him for a career in the military. Joining Leonardo are Jessica Morera, class of 95, an Executive Officer of Surface Combat Systems Training Command San Diego, and Vietnam veteran and longtime, now retired faculty member, Barry Cheskaty. Have a listen and take a look.
The main question was to explore your formative years at Francis Parker School and what influenced your decision to serve. When you look back over your time at Parker, can you identify a specific moment, teacher, or value that first planted the seed for service or a life of service?
Mm-hmm. You know, I thought about this. So I really decided to go into the military once I got into college. I think there had been little things that had been planted throughout my years. Mm-hmm. If you would ask anyone at Parker while I was here, like, can you see Leonardo in 30 years being a captain in the Navy? I think that's the last job they think I would have had. So growing up in San Diego, I think I was around Navy a lot. My great uncle was a rear admiral, so I had opportunity to spend some time with him. But as I graduated from high school in Parker and went to college is when I kind of started to really start to look at, hey, what do I do next? I think usually in high school you still have time before you have to kind of decide what you want to do. So college was really, I think, where I made that decision. And I think there'd always been a little something inside of me that wanted to be in the Navy. And so I think it just started to grow little by little as we went. But it really wasn't until college that it really kicked in, and I decided to do that. And it was funny because my dad has a company here in San Diego, and I was always supposed to go work for him. And I broke the news to him that I was going to go into the Navy my second semester of my senior year in college. And it was a very difficult conversation. He was very mad. He didn't talk to me for several days afterwards, and because he wanted me to go work for him. But at that point, I started looking at my life and seeing, like, what path do I want to take? And the path in the Navy was really the exciting, the challenging one. I felt that any other path that I took would be the easy route. So I decided to do that, and funny enough, although my dad was not happy at the beginning, there was a point later on. We have opportunities to bring family on board the ship. Occasionally we call it family day cruises and things like that. So my dad, my mom, and sister came on board the ship, and I had the opportunity to con, which is driving the ship out to sea. And he was up one level above me, kind of watching me get the ship underway. And I think at that point was when all of a sudden he changed his mind and was super proud. And now my dad's the dad who wears the command ball caps all over the place, and he's super proud of that.
That's a great thing.
So,
Jessica, you went a little bit different path.
I did. So I wish I could come in and tell you that when I was in your woodshop class and I saw people making these intricate sailboats, that I knew I was destined for a life in the Navy that focused around ships, but that's not what happened at all. I think what Parker really gave me was the opportunity and the support to try a wide variety of things, so that when I graduated and left, I left with the confidence that as long as I put in the work and had a good community to support me, that I really could pursue or accomplish anything. Even as a woman, which when I left these walls, I found out was not the opinion of everybody across the country. I do have two distinct memories here that I think connect to wanting to be in the Navy or a life of service. The first one is serving meals at Father Joe's Village and talking to people who are experiencing homelessness. And the second was visiting a Tijuana orphanage. Clearly remember bringing Barbie dolls and watches as gifts for the children there. It dawned on me at those moments that not everybody grew up with the privileges that Leonardo and I had, going to a top school like Parker, and that I wanted to work to make sure that everybody had the basic needs that would allow them to flourish. A lot of what we do in our current roles is support sailors, many of whom are very talented, but come from really challenging backgrounds and really struggle to make good decisions. And a lot of where our time is spent is with just a fantastic team of people, teachers, mentors, administrators, mental health professionals, substance abuse counselors, chaplains, this whole group of people that are really putting in the effort to help these sailors get on a safe path and hopefully stay on that safe path. And that's been really fulfilling and a part of the job that I've enjoyed doing with Leonardo.
Yeah, I think that's been one of the best parts of being in the Navy is interacting with people that, from our community and where we grew up, we would have never interacted with some of these, sailors. And they're amazing. I mean, they bring some great stories and challenges that they've faced in their life. So it's fantastic to be able to help them grow and, work through their challenges sometimes that they have and get to know people from all kinds of backgrounds and paths in life.
That's great.
Yeah.
Was there a particular class at Parker that taught you leadership or being in the larger scope of leadership?
hmm I like them all. I mean, I think for me, not so much the classes, but the teachers were really who made impacts on me on how to lead and everything. I very much enjoyed, going all the way back to middle school. Miss Peckham, who used to be here, man, she was tough, and I think that was so important. She wouldn't let you get away with things. She would call you out on things. She made fun of me one time for these white shoes that I wore. One day, but it's funny because I remember her every day that I have to wear my dress white uniform and I put on those white shoes. I think Miss Peckham, and how she was tough, formidable, and really kind of challenged me along the way. And lots of people, you were a huge influence on me throughout the time, and so many others that supported me during difficult times. Some challenging family things that occurred. I felt like they were always there, and it wasn't just a teacher, but a mentor and somebody who was there to support all the time. Yeah.
For me, I think this question is appropriate to answer in the VAC, as people call it, or in the gym, which we just confirmed before doing this was the original gym. And then they built the field house, which my daughters now know as the old gym, which I never got to play in because it was finished my senior year. But here we are at the new gym for me. I have a clear memory of trying out for volleyball my freshman year. And I was just talking to Mr. Cheskaty about this. Parker had this amazing reputation for girls volleyball, having recently won the state championship. So I had no illusion that I would make varsity as a freshman, but I thought I was a shoo-in for JV. So I walked out there and did the tryouts. And at the end, I remember Coach Sherman, and I haven't gotten to ask him if he remembers it the same way, pulling me aside and breaking it to me that I had not made JV because I hadn't calculated the fact that there were so many girls that tried out. They decided to also do a freshman team. And he pointed out that he could really use my leadership skills on the freshman team. At the time, I was livid. The competitor in me was really frustrated, and I struggled to watch my friends on the next court practicing on the JV squad. But I think that was probably a nudge I needed in the right direction to highlight that I have more skills. I never got past 5'3.5" anyway, so he may have saved me from a life of terrible volleyball. But I think he really helped me understand that there were skills and things that I had that were part of me that were valuable that I hadn't realized. So I did not play volleyball after my freshman year. I switched to cross country, but the leadership experience was a really positive one for me.
Well, you didn't decide to go into the Navy until your senior year in college.
Yes.
Was there any time at all while you were walking the halls of Francis Parker School that you even dawned on you that you might?
I don't think
choose that?
so. Like I told you, I think most people you'd ask would be like, no way. You know, it was, I don't know if it was there was no like specific moment that really kind of called it out. I think it was just uh, this little thing that started to grow and grow, and each day got bigger and bigger, and to the point that I just couldn't ignore it, and it kind of went that way. You know, one of the interesting things that I've discovered in the Navy is of just going with the flow. You know, like the ocean has currents, and you can fight the current, but the current's going to take you in a certain direction. And throughout my career, there have been things that I want to go this way. This is the path that I want to take. And all of a sudden, it shifts me in a different direction. And at first, I'm like, no, that's terrible. That's not where I want to go. It's going to be detrimental to my career. Everything's going to be terrible. Turns out it was one of the best tours that I've done. So as I've gotten older, it's really just going with the flow of things. You never know what path is going to take you, and a lot of times trying to plan everything out doesn't end up working. You know, having a good plan is good, but as soon as it meets reality, it starts to move, and you just kind of have to go with it. Sometimes you get farther if you don't fight it and just go with it. So I think for me, the service part, it was one that was already there. That was that undercurrent that was kind of pushing me in that direction. And it just took me a little while to kind of start to recognize it and see it.
Oh, good. And you had a little bit different path.
Yes, absolutely. By my senior year, I knew about the Navy ROTC program, and I owe that to the Beamer family for letting me know that that was an option for me, in my mind, to pay for college and then pay back that tuition through military service afterwards. I saw it as a stepping stone in life. Some of the people I interacted with closely at Parker, as far as parents, Bill Beamer, Paul Meyer, they had served in Navy and Marine Corps respectively, and were both attorneys. Will Beamer, who was 6 years ahead of me here, he took a Navy ROTC scholarship to Duke, just like I did. Eventually, I interacted with him while he was serving on a ship. He seemed to enjoy it, but was also getting ready to get his MBA, which he eventually did. So for me, it was a stepping stone to something else. My mom was also an inspiration for me. Before I was born, she was a police officer in Washington, D.C. So she inspired me to do something service related, a little adventurous, a little bold. But once again, for her, after spending a few years on the DC Metro Police Force, she went to law school and ended up teaching criminal justice. So I did not see it as a 20+ year thing whatsoever. I think, what's kept me in, like Leonardo said, it's just the people. So I knew I was going that direction, but a lot of things changed. The stepping stone for me, I was big into journalism. I spent many times in the dorms, which no longer exists, as the editor of the Lancer Legend. And when I signed my ROTC scholarship, I envisioned myself as a public affairs officer in Italy, which Leonardo will laugh because a lot changed in the Navy. The year that I actually signed an ROTC scholarship, which I was not aware, was the first year in '94 that women were allowed to serve on combatant ships, which massively changed the trajectory of my Navy career. But like I said before, I left here with a lot of experiences to do a wide variety of things. And like Leonardo was alluding to, I was able to go with the flow and make changes. And it's been a wonderful career.
That's good. What strikes me is the fact that I have two students, and Now you work together.
Hmm.
Two students years ago, now you work together.
Yeah.
How did that come to be? Let me know how you guys got together.
Oh gosh. Like I said, there was no plan. I don't think the Navy had a plan of like, we're going to put these two together again. Um, I think we just ended up, just by happenstance. It happened, and it's been really fun. I showed up to the command in October of last year, and it's been really nice working with Jessica. It's there's because we have a common background, we share all of that. So as we talk to the students, we do a lot of indoctrination when they come in and kind of talk to them, and it's always fun to be like, hey, the XO just talked to you. I went to high school together, and we grew up here, and so I think sharing a lot of those common experiences has really made us a good team, and it just it's nice. It's a very familiar, like when we come in the morning, I feel very comfortable. It's like, oh, I know Jessica, and it's we share all those experiences, and then occasionally in the afternoon, I'll come in and start asking her some stuff, and we'll start delving into stories of Parker and history, which is really nice.
That's great.
This is the part where I feel like I have to come clean. When Leonardo was looking at this position, I was already in the executive officer position, and he was feeling out whether he was interested in the commanding officer position. So he came by the office, and this man outside my door said, "You're Jessica Lipsker." And I said, "Yes, I am." "Who are you?" I did not remember Leonardo from high school. I'm 1 year ahead. If you had been in the class of '97, my brother Josh's year, maybe our paths would have crossed. But we have been able to catch up, um, to see where our mutual friends paths crossed, like, some of the stories still stick. So it does make life at the office a lot of fun. And then I think that community and that shared experience that we had here and valued, it's been really easy for us to be the supportive community for other people that we received and are so grateful for here at Parker.
So explain on a daily basis, what
Yeah.
do both of you do during the day?
So, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So we run a schoolhouse
Okay.
right now. So a staff of between 500 to 600 uniformed civilians and contractors who are range from instructors to student management, legal support staff, facilities, etc. And then we have up to 600-700 students that are typically on deck at one time, and we're spread out between two different bases over the Harbor Drive Annex by Naval Base Point Loma, and then 32nd Street Naval Base here in San Diego. So we have kind of two schoolhouses. And most of the time we have a curriculum part where we're ensuring that the curriculum is being taught correctly, all the courses of instruction are flowing correctly, and we're doing everything that's required to make sure that's going well. And then there's the taking care of people part. I would say that the taking care of people part is about 90% of the work, and then the other 20 is the curriculum side of the house. With a great staff, they usually take care of most of the teaching portion of it. So really, we only get involved whenever there's something that needs our decision. But the personnel side is usually what takes most of our time, because we have young sailors who have just gone through boot camp and then they come here to San Diego. Some struggle as they make the transition. It's the first time they've been away from home. A lot of temptations, a lot of things that they have an opportunity to do. Some make bad decisions. Others struggle through different things. Some struggle with depression of being away from family all of a sudden. Their whole life they've been close to family in a support structure, and now they're in a place that they don't know anyone. So working through all of those things, maintaining good order and discipline usually takes up some of our time. And most of the time it's just preventing a lot of those things. So working with the team to make sure all the support is there for the students as we go through it. So I would say that's kind of most of our day, meetings like everyone has, to make sure that everything is going in the direction that it needs to. And she and I, it's kind of a left hand, right hand type thing. There are things that are in her wheelhouse. She manages schedules and the daily battle rhythm of the command, and then I have other responsibilities that we do. But we're basically supporting one another as we do daily to make sure that the command is flowing well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think if I'm doing my job well and the trains are running on time and things are going smoothly, ideally that gives Leonardo some headspace to be able to be a little more visionary and think about the future. I think he's more of the communicator with entities external to our command, and I'm a little more inward facing on a daily basis. But yes, a lot of times we end up in the same meeting, same space. If I'm doing my job right as well, I've probably done a meeting before the meeting with him and prepped people to give him a good product. My Parker editing skills come in very handy at work.
Fantastic, yeah.
I do a lot of administrative functions, so I don't know how many emails I get in a day. I'm sure it's a disgusting number, and we're still in some ways very antiquated, and we have a paper inbox as well. So my hope is that I work with a green pen and he works with a blue pen. If my green pen solves all the problems, hopefully when it gets to him, his blue pen can just sign it off and we can move forward.
That's great. Well, I'm sure there's a world of difference between the time I was in the Navy in the mid 60s and your time now. How's the landscape of the Navy changed, focusing on the evolution rather than the politics of what's gone on in the world? I mean, for me, we were in the midst of a Cold War at the time, and my job was to surveil the enemy through radio communications. What's it like now that we no longer have the Cold War going on, but we have serious problems around the world that you have to address in the Navy?
I think we always have similar things. You know, times change, but there's always the Navy's mission has been the same, to project power, to be forward present everywhere we go. And I think when you served and now it's the same thing. We prepare sailors to be battle ready and then head out to sea and deploy. So for all the changes that I think we think happen, I think it's very similar. I think the core values, the core of service is the same, and I really think it all just comes back to the people. The daily ensuring training, making sure the sailors ready to go, the relationships, all of that. I think are the same as if when you were in. Little things will change and. Policies will change. We'll have beards. Now we don't have beards, and uniforms change over time. But I think the core of the Navy remains the same, and I think if we went back to your time, you'd still see that. Like we were chatting before, you'd still see sailors, cleaning rust off of the ship and painting the ship and doing the daily things. I think the daily schedule would probably be very similar to what you did. We do maintenance, we ensure the ship is ready to go, we train, and then we deploy. The deployments are the same. We should get the ship underway 6 months and then come back. So I think for all the changes that we have, I think you'd really be surprised at how little things change, and the important things are always the taking care of the people part.
Oh, good, good.
I think for me, I'm getting ready to retire from the Navy, and it's given me the opportunity to reflect and really look back at my time in service. I mentioned earlier that there had been this big policy change in '94 to allow women onto combatant ships. And for me, the change I saw was that while a policy had changed in the Navy, that procedures had not by the time I stepped in. Connecting that to Parker, like I said before, I just got to do such a wide variety of things. I think I was confident to know that I could succeed at anything no matter what. And even as a woman, which sounds kind of crazy to my daughters at this point, who are 13 and 11, that there would be any sort of difference in opportunity for a boy in their class or a girl in their class. But it really was that way in the Navy when I first came in. And where we've come, I only remember being told no once at Parker. And it was in middle school. I used to love flag football. I think they let me play in 6th and maybe even 7th grade. But there was like a year where I showed up, like first day, okay, we're going to play flag football. And I think it was Mr. Garoni shooed me away and said, it's boys only. And I really think that's the only time I was stopped from doing anything here. And I have to say, just plastered on the outside of this building, when I come on campus, I see the pictures of the senior girls posing for their flag football photos. And it just really reminds me that there has been change in the world, really for the positive in my time from Parker and my time in the Navy.
Well, my time down in Pensacola, Florida, going to radio school, there were no women involved. It was strictly men. And even when I got on base, our particular site was in the Everglades. So we lived on Homestead Air Force Base, and then we travel up by bus for a little over a half hour down in the Everglades to a brand new site that had a Woolen Weber antenna. And we used to have one in Imperial Beach. You may have remembered all those telephone poles in a circle.
Yes.
That's a Woolen Weber. And now that site is all closed down, I guess, with satellites and the advances that have taken place since then. It's no longer needed. What about AI? Now, AI is very new. I know very little about it other than the fact that if I choose to use it on the computer, it pulls up the most important things that I should know. What about for you guys in the Navy?
So there has been a little bit more of a push of an AI recently. Secretary of War came out with the AI initiative, and we now have the ability to use it in the Navy, which has been nice. So this has been just over the last few months that we've had access to it. And just encouraging the team to go in and try different things out, see how things work. I think it has made, we came up with a few ideas on how we could apply it to make, for example, at our schoolhouse, how to streamline some of the curriculum so that it'll go in and edit and do a lot of that for reduce some of the time that people spend on doing some of those things. But at the end of the day, we still have to review it. It doesn't always give you the right answer. You always have to make sure that it's what you wanted to come out of it. I think it does a good job, but you always need the human there to verify that it's doing what it's supposed to. So I think it's a good tool, and as it expands, I think we'll continue to apply its use. I think it'll be very helpful with a lot of things. But I always think that human element is going to be important because there's certain things, in our daily job, like we talked about, 80% of dealing with sailors and issues and personal things. I don't think that sometimes AI can give you that answer of, how do you deal with a problem that a sailor has? How do you deal with someone who is, has gone through a loss in their life and they're trying to figure out how to make it to tomorrow and no support structure back home. How do you solve that? I don't think that's where you need that human element to really come in and help out.
Yeah, I can remember in boot camp, similar things, kids that wanted to go AWOL, all the way to the point where they couldn't wait to get to the opportunity to go to south of the border, which they don't know how to do. So, well, that's good. What about any takeaways that our current students at Parker might have from the two of you and your experiences in the Navy?
I think I alluded to it earlier, and it's hard to not do it, but you put a lot of pressure on yourself, particularly in high school. And I think here at Parker as well, we encourage students to, what are you going to do? How are you going to prepare yourself? And you get a lot of pressure, to figure things out when you're only 16, 17, 18 years old. And I would say there's time, that there's a lot of time to figure things out. and you'll have lots of opportunities to do different things in your life. You know, like Jessica's getting ready to retire here, so a whole new chapter of life. I may retire in 3 years or so, and same thing. Now it's, hey, what am I going to do now? What's a different career path? And one of the wonderful things about the Navy is that it is a career, but then there are almost small careers all throughout. So you get to change jobs on a frequent basis, travel, go live in different places. So I think what I would tell you know, Parker students is uh, you know, don't stress out too much about things. You know, if my example helps, you know, I thought I was going to do something, and then I get to college and I decide I'm going to do something completely different and go a completely different way. And I think if you look at a lot of successful people in life, what they thought they were going to do in high school ends up being completely different than what they did later on. And the other one is your priorities will change throughout time, and it a lot of times will be for the better. You know, I think my goals and my ambitions were a certain way, and when I started to have a family, they shifted dramatically. Once I had kids, the things that were important before maybe weren't important after that. And I will tell you though that I'm happier as I get older. So I think that would be my advice to the young generation.
Well, looking forward to retirement and looking back over your career,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts about your experience in the Navy?
I agree with Leonardo in the fact that in high school, I don't want anybody to think you have to have this aha moment of clarity where your life's passion is revealed to you. I think that's great that that's happened for certain people. Uh, it never happened to me. Um, and I've lived a great life. So, um, as I prepared to move away from the Navy and figure out the next chapter of my life, some of the advice I give to Parker students is instead of focusing on the exact job you want or career you want, start focusing on what things you value, what your values are. If your values are things like compassion and community and helping society, then maybe a service-based career is the right fit for you. And then I would say, try it out. And this is something I'm having to tell my inner self too, as I get ready to try out new things, is that's a singular decision, but that doesn't mean I can't change it again and can't change it again, just like Leonardo's saying. So don't get so stressed out about the first decision. It's just going to be one of many decisions, and leave Parker confident that it's given you the skills to be able to pivot and maneuver and do a wide variety of things, which is why I'm so grateful for having had the experience here.
Well, my Navy career wouldn't tie in here, but sometimes in life it's who you know and not so much what you know at the time. For me, I was in the furniture business, and we hired a wonderful young woman by the name of Joan Crone, who happened to be the wife of the headmaster of Francis Parker School. And wonderful lady to work with. She was into antiques. But they had a problem here at Francis Parker. They needed a woodshop teacher. And so they offered me the job to come and teach, and I turned them down.
Yeah.
And they hired someone else. 2 years later, they came back and they say, please don't say no. We need you now. Please come and teach woodworking at Francis Parker. So I started with the idea, I'll give it 1 year and see how it goes. The idea that my kids could go to a special school like Francis Parker was very important to my wife and I. So I said, I'll give it a try for a year. 48 years later, the longest continuously employed teacher in Parker history, finally retired. So
It's a great title.
So I have no regrets about the course that my life took and the decisions I made. It worked out beautifully for my family, my kids especially, getting this wonderful education. So I'm proud of both of you and what you've accomplished, and it's so good to just be able to sit and talk with you.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate you being here today.
So I wanted to share something with you, and I'm glad you talked about wood shop there. So if you give me one second.
Special moment.
It's a special moment. Let me grab this. Okay, so excuse the towel. I'm gonna have you hold
Yeah,
this
you
one
wanna
here
hold
for
it?
a second. So during the awards presentation, you gave me this letter, and you included this picture, if
Yeah.
you remember, right?
Yes.
So that project that we did, it was a CD holder,
Right.
and I gave that to my dad, and so I wanted you to see that
I'll be darned.
I still have it.
Look at that. You did a great
And
job on this. You know, this was
So-
a particular, this wood that we used here
Mhm.
was a one of a kind, and I'm struggling right now to pull up the name of it. But it was a very nice wood to work with, and you can see it left a beautiful finish.
Yeah.
Gosh, we made a lot of these, didn't we?
Yes. So my dad still has it, and so I went over to his
Oh,
house this week,
fantastic.
and I was like, "Dad, can I borrow it?" He's like, "Okay, but we have to." He has the CDs all in a specific order. We have to put them in the right order when we get it back.
Yeah,
But
and if our kids are watching, CDs are devices you can play music.
Well, luckily, I've saved all my computer parts over the years, and so I have a CD player from way back
oh
when.
yeah,
And I get the chance to play on the computer, see old family photographs and all kinds of things.
so I want you to know that the things that you help students build are still in their lives and
Well,
are still touching.
that's
people.
great to know. Remember, my motto was always, you're making a family heirloom
Yeah.
that will be passed down through the generation.
There it is.
Exactly.
And so that's fantastic. That's good to know.
Thank you.
Thanks for bringing that in. It's beautiful.
Oh.
Any last words you might have?
No, I appreciate, really, I want to, here, let me put this down first. Thank you for everything that you've done. I think, I've had a lot of teachers at Parker that have made an indelible impression. But you're one of the most important, and I always think of you fondly, and remember everything that you taught me. The woodworking part. It wasn't just a elective, and we got to cut. But as I mentioned in my speech before, it was a learning how to do things correctly, precision, how important every little detail is. So as I've gone through my life, I've always, a woodworking project, whatever it might be, is do it right the first time. Measure, plan it out, cut it correctly, and if there's a detail that needs to be fixed, fix that detail. And I think that's always stuck with me. So I very appreciate everything that you've done for me.
Well, I appreciate you bringing that today and letting me see it after all these years. It looks fantastic, so take good care of it.
It's beautiful. I'm glad our paths crossed back in the day. I'm glad they crossed again. I'm glad our paths crossed at Parker and at work. So thanks for
good.
both your time.
Well, thanks again for sharing your stories with us today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down and talk with you today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, take care of yourself.